Let's begin, and we're going to start today with a chant that we often open our Dharma with. And this is an invitation to the Buddhas and the Devas and all of the holy beings to come and join us this morning, to share Dharma with us, to inspire us to hear the Dharma in a way that is functional and useful to each and every one of us. So if you know this chant, please chant with me. Incense burning, all space is filled with the fragrance. All Buddhas smell it from afar. Auspicious clouds gather everywhere. With utmost sincerity, all Buddhas appear. Pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. Pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. Pay homage and offer clouds of incense to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. I'm going to go ahead and pull my mask off. We are all asked to keep our masks on while we're in the Dharma hall, but I'm social distanced enough from you where I feel it's safe, and it's very difficult for us to be able to hear what's being said if the mask is on. So please forgive me. The clouds of incense in that chant, a lot of us might not be real aware of. And for me, I just wanted to share this little thing. The clouds of incense are actually my good deeds, my right or skillful thinking, my right or skillful speech, my right or skillful action. That's the gifts that we can offer to the Bodhisattvas and the Mahasattvas. So if that rings true for you. Yes. Okay. So my mission in Dharma also includes music. So I rarely offer Dharma that I don't offer a song or two in it. So we'll start with a song today, and we'll close with a song today. I wanted to speak to you today about skillful speech. As I started feeling into what would I say about skillful speech, I realized we can't have skillful speech if we've still got that stinking thinking piece going on. Because what comes out of our mouth came through our thoughts first. So we're going to be hearing about skillful thinking today. Strong, just keep the love strong. It's the long-awaited path to your salvation. You got to keep the love strong. Just keep the love strong. Being free of judgments, fears, and lamentations. Watch the conditioning of mind. It's sneaking in most of the time, convincing us that we need more and more and more. Reasonable and justified. It tells us lies and lies and lies. Not easy, but it's crucial to explore. Love is the only thing that's real, right to the core. We cover love with fear, pollute and hate, and judge what's here. We're a little out of focus most of the time, caring too much what others think, while we are right here on the brink when what we're searching for, we're standing right behind. Trust and let go into the arms of the divine. Watch the conditioning of mind. It's sneaking in most of the time, convincing us that we need more and more and more. Reasonable and justified. It tells us lies and lies and lies. Not easy, but it's crucial to explore. Love is the only thing that's real, right to the core. Keeping love strong, remembering our essence, we are love. We are love beyond all measure. Just like the forest air, pristine and crystal clear, just like the spring-fed stream supporting all of life. Love's the essential source, the true creative force, tearing away all that's not real. Love's all we'll find. Watch the conditioning of mind. It's sneaking most of the time, convincing us that we need more and more and more. Reasonable and justified, it tells us lies and lies and lies. Not easy, but it's crucial to explore. Love is the only thing that's real, right to the core. Love is the only thing that's real, right to the core. So we tend to believe what we think. We have this conditioning that causes us to think in certain ways. So a lot of times ways that are very judgmental, very unskillful. They're like spiritual cigar smoke. We're not only killing ourselves, polluting our own selves with it, but we're also putting it out there and polluting everyone else with it. We tend to deify the thinking mind. We believe our thoughts like they were gospel truth. The invitation is to question these thinking pieces, question those thoughts. The Buddha said the mind is our sixth sense. We've got our five physical senses, but he says there are six senses. And that thinking mind is that sixth sense. I want to give you, speaking of senses, this is a beautiful analogy, and I'd like to share it with you. This is a quote from a Persian holy man by the name of Abdul Baha. And he says, the senses are not reliable. This includes the mind. For instance, consider a mirror and the images reflected in it. These images have no actual corporal existence. Yet, if you had never seen a mirror, you would firmly insist and believe that they were real. The eye sees a mirage upon the desert as a lake of water, but there is really no water. As we stand upon the deck of a steamer, the shore appears to be moving, yet we know the land is stationary and we are the ones moving. The earth was believed to be fixed and the sun revolving around it. But although this appears to be so, the reverse is now known to be true. A whirling torch makes a circle of fire appear before the eyes, yet we realize that there is but one point of light. We behold a shadow moving upon the ground, but it has no material existence, no substance. In brief, the senses are continually deceived, and we are unable to separate that which is reality from that which is not. And that's so true of our thinking. And until we realize that, we get drug around by our thinking mind like a little ragged teddy bear, bumping along the ground, hitting our head and getting covered with the mud of life. This is one of my very favorite quotes from the Buddha. It's the very first and second verses of the Dhammapada. Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind wrought. If with an impure mind a person speaks or acts, suffering follows him like the wheel that follows the foot of the ox. Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind wrought. If with a pure mind a person speaks or acts, happiness follows him like his never departing shadow. That's so encouraging. We're all seeking this freedom from suffering. And if you ask anybody what they really want out of life, they may start out with $1 million or a brand new car or what they really want. But when you think, if you ask, well, what would the $1 million buy you? What would the $1 million do for you? What would that brand new car do for you? The bottom line, when they pare it all down, we all find that what we're actually seeking is happiness. Happiness follows him like his never departing shadow, if with a pure mind we act or speak. So there you go. Forget the $1 million, forget the car. That's a lot of material stuff you got to put a lot of effort towards that is not going to get you happiness. But the pure mind, this is what is going to bring us real, true happiness. I want to share with you a little bit of wisdom that I found on the Barry Center for Buddhist Studies. They've got some beautiful stuff up there. If you haven't been on that website, go take a look. One of the first insights of Vipassana practice is the recognition that the mind has a mind of its own. When we finally begin to attend to the dynamics of our thinking processes, we realize that thoughts often seem to arise of their own accord, with little or no apparent prompting or direction. Where do these thoughts come from, after all? It might seem that our thoughts are thoroughly beyond our control, that we have no choice about the kinds of things that drift across our minds. Are we simply at the mercy of a mind out of control? For most of us, most of the time, the answer is yes. But the teachings of the Buddha tell us it doesn't need to be this way. The Buddha concisely outlines a discipline for a more conscious management of our thinking. And that is the invitation and the offering of today, the relaxation of thoughts. And this comes from the Majjhima Nikaya, and it's verse 20. I have heard that on one occasion, the Blessed One was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Anathapindika's monastery. There he addressed the monks. Monks? Yes, Lord, the monks responded to him. The Blessed One said, when a monk is intent on the heightened mind, there are 5 things he should attend to at the appropriate times. Which 5? There is the case where evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion arise in a monk while he is referring to and attending to a particular theme. He should attend to another theme apart from that one, connected with what is skillful. When he is attending to this other theme apart from that one, connected with what is skillful, then those evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion are abandoned and they subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Just as a dexterous carpenter or his apprentice would use a small peg to knock out, drive out, and pull out a larger one. In the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion arise in a monk while he is referring to and attending to a particular theme, he should attend to another theme, apart from that one, connected with what is skillful. When he is attending to this other theme, apart from that one, connected with what is skillful, then those evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies, and concentrates it. There's a couple little asides that I want to put in here for you. When the Buddha is speaking to these monks, he's also speaking to us as practitioners. So if you hear this, when he says monks, hear him speaking directly to your heart. This advice is as appropriate for us as householders as it is for those of us who are monastics. Number two is a lot of the suttas give us repetitive phrases. We hear them over and over again. I think part of the reason for that is that when you hear it one time, the mind isn't really concentrated for most of us. We're not really hearing it fully. And so the repetition helps us to actually integrate it and embody it. Another reason was there was no written word back when he was telling us. And so, of course, he had to reiterate it over and over again so that it could actually become part of the memory of those of us hearing it. It's a pretty good gift. So if your mind goes, yeah, get on with it, that's an unskillful thought that you can just gently pat on the head and say, sorry, little one, sit. Okay, so the second one, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise while the monk he is attending to this other theme connected with what is skillful, he should scrutinize the drawbacks of those thoughts. Really, these thoughts of mine are unskillful. These thoughts of mine are blameworthy. These thoughts of mine result in stress. As he is scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, those evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Just as a young woman or man fond of adornment would be horrified, humiliated, and disgusted if the carcass of a snake or a dog or even a human being were hung from her neck. In the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is attending to this other theme connected with what is skillful, he should scrutinize the drawbacks of those thoughts. Really, these thoughts of mine are unskillful. These thoughts of mine are blameworthy. These thoughts of mine result in stress. As he is scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, those evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. So, number three. If evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, he should pay no mind, pay no attention to those thoughts. As he is paying no mind and paying no attention to them, those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Just as a man with good eyes, not wanting to see forms that had come into range, would close his eyes or look away. In the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he's scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, he should pay no mind, pay no attention to those thoughts. As he is paying no mind and paying no attention to them, those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside. And with their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Number 4. If evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is paying no mind and paying no attention to those thoughts, he should attend to the relaxing of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts. As he is attending to the relaxing of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts, those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside. And with their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Just as the thought would occur to a man walking very quickly, why am I walking so quickly? Why don't I walk slowly? So he walks slowly. The thought occurs to him, why am I walking slowly? Why don't I stand? So he stands. The thought occurs to him, why am I standing? Why don't I sit down? So he sits down. The thought occurs to him, why am I sitting? Why don't I lie down? So he lies down. In this way, giving up the grosser postures, he takes up the more refined one. In the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is paying no mind and paying no attention to those thoughts, he should attend to the relaxing of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts. As he is attending to relaxing the thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts, those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside. And with their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Number 5. If evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he is attending to relaxing the thought fabrication with regards to those thoughts, then with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush his mind with his awareness. As with his teeth clenched, his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he is beating down, constraining, and crushing his mind with his awareness. Those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Just as a strong man seizing a weaker man by the head or by the throat or by the shoulders would beat him down, constrain, and crush him. In the same way, if evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise in the monk while he's attending to the relaxing of thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts, then with his teeth clenched, his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he should beat down, constrain, and crush his mind with his awareness. As with his teeth clenched and his tongue pressed against the roof of his mouth, he is beating down, constraining, and crushing his mind with his awareness. Those evil, unskillful thoughts are abandoned and subside. With their abandoning, he steadies his mind right within, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. Now, when a monk attending to another theme, scrutinizing the drawbacks of those thoughts, paying no mind and paying no attention to those thoughts, attending to relaxing of the thought fabrication with regard to those thoughts, beating down, constraining, and crushing his mind with his awareness. He studies his mind right, settles it, unifies it, and concentrates it. He is then called a monk with mastery over the ways of thought sequences. He thinks whatever thought he wants to and doesn't think whatever thought he doesn't want to. He has severed craving, thrown off the fetters, and through the right penetration of conceit, has made an end to suffering and stress. So these 5 tools that the Buddha gave us, and he gave them to us in this order for a reason, I believe, or I think, or feel. It seems right that they're in this order because the first one, that replacing one thought with another, that's a pretty gentle way of doing it. It's pretty simple, pretty easy. You realize stinking thinking's going on, and you can immediately take a deep breath, let it go. And as Vanadika says, think about puppies or butterflies. Think about something different, which is the second thing. They kind of all blend into one another. And if you notice, the very last one was the most violent one. We don't ever choose that harsh path as the first one, but there are times when our thinking mind needs tough love. And that's when we crush it with our awareness. So the first one, they're divided into 5 R's is what I call them. Replacement, the case where evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, delusion arise. Then the monk, while he's referring to and attending to a particular theme, should attend to another theme apart from that one, which is what was unskillful. So the most effective approach is to match the unskillful, or one of the most effective approaches is to match the unskillful thought with an appropriate skillful thought. Thoughts of desire can then be substituted by thoughts of impermanence of the object of our desire. Thoughts of hatred can be replaced with notions of friendliness or compassion. Deluded thoughts can be overcome by just a clean acceptance of this is how it is right now. This is the reality. So with practice, it becomes habitual. So needing only the slightest expenditure of our mental energy with practice. And it's like any of you who have played a musical instrument or do any kind of graphic arts, it's real clear that if you look at what you produced when you first started whatever your creative practice was, and then after you've been doing it for 5 years, it's very, very different. It's that practice that solidifies it, and eventually it goes on to automatic pilot. It's like driving a car. Do you remember when you first got behind the wheel of the car? It was like, okay, what do? I've got to take off. First of all, I got to put on my seatbelt. I've got to turn the engine on. I've got to let go of the emergency brake. Now I've got to find how to put it in gear. Okay, now I've got it in reverse. Every one of those steps you had to think about in detail. And it actually came with a little bit of concern too. And now think about how you can drive over to Charlotte and you won't even realize the cities that you pass through because you're so proceduralized the art of driving that none of that, you don't have to think about that anymore. You can almost feel when you're going above the speed limit without looking at the speedometer because you've driven so much. The same thing is true of these practices that the Buddha has given us. Once we have trained our mind in skillful thinking, that's going to be our reflexive way of walking through the world. That's going to be so much more comfortable for us. And believe me, it's going to be a lot more comfortable for those we live with and those whose paths we cross, because what we're emanating then, what we leave in our wake, is just peace of mind. Okay, so replacement was that first one. Now we've got the reflection on the results. That's number 2. So if the evil, unskillful thoughts connected with desire, aversion, or delusion still arise, you should scrutinize the drawbacks of those thoughts, thinking, really, these thoughts of mine are unskillful. These thoughts of mine are blameworthy. These thoughts of mine result in stress. We should not forget those thoughts. We should try to forget those thoughts or not give them our attention. Okay, so one thing that I found that is really useful for me when I catch myself in that stinking place yet again is I will say to myself, really, Maureen, you know where this path leads. This is a very clear path. This is an interstate to suffering. Do you really want to go there yet again? Have you not suffered enough, girlfriend? Come on. And so just that question yourself, really, we know where this leads. Do we have to continue that wheel of samsara, suffering over and over again? Or can we just get a chuckle out of it and say, really, you know where you're headed? Turn around. So contemplating the consequences of the unwholesome thoughts. This is a very, very useful tool. Ponder the effects of holding an unwise notion. What kind of person do we become? Mind is chief. Whatever we continually ponder upon, run through our mind, this is what we become. If we are continually judging, if we're continually getting angry, or anger out here, rage out here, slight irritation over here, fingernails on a chalkboard over here, but it's all that same continuum. If we keep feeding it, it hangs around like a stray dog. Okay, so number 3, redirecting ourselves. The Buddha uses the metaphor of averting one's gaze to avoid seeing certain objects. This method is, of course, very familiar to those of us who are meditators, because a lot of us has worked with that breathing, mindfulness of breathing at the nose, or if we're working with a loving kindness practice, mindfulness of breathing at the heart area. And we are very aware that when the mind goes off and you start writing a grocery list, you realize it sooner than later, the longer you practiced. And you just bring it right back. You redirect the thinking mind. So this one is one that we all kind of have a little handle on this one. Redirecting our attention relies on the fundamental impermanence of reality to achieve its success. If we can simply divert our attention to more wholesome objects, the distracting thought, given its impermanent nature, will automatically dissolve on its own accord. All things that arise must fall away. So don't feed it, and it's going to go down. Have you ever been in a place where you had a really rough interaction with somebody and your mind goes into that real stinking thinking place where I should have said, and then you orchestrate a whole conversation about what you should have said to them, and then they would have said this and I would have come back with that. And we just get caught in that little loop of, and then later you get out of it, you go about your life, and then later on you feel this kind of angst in the background. There's something not quite right here. What was that? And your thinking mind goes off looking for more suffering. Oh yeah, it was that conversation with that guy. That is an amazing thing. Eckhart Tolle called that the pain body. It's stagnant old pain that feeds on fresh pain. It's a reflexive condition of an untrained mind. It'll look for that. It'll go dig it up yet again. But you notice how when you stopped feeding it, it actually subsided to the point that all that was left was a little resonance, a little echo of it. And had you not attended to that echo, you wouldn't have fed it and brought it up again and felt all those afflictive emotions all over again. So don't feed him. So he should pay no attention to those thoughts. Redirect. Okay, number 4, reconstructing. So analyzing the formation of the unskillful thought. In the second method, we were reflecting on the results. We pursued the forward trajectory of our thoughts. So what will be the outcome if I continue with this? With the reconstructing, we're moving in the other direction. We're examining what is it that has given rise to the unwholesome notion in the first place. These distracting thoughts are predicated by other thoughts. Carefully explore the roots of the unskillful thinking, attending to the relaxation of the thought fabrication. Why am I thinking this suffering-producing thought? By systematically reconstructing the formation of the unwholesome thought, one is able to return to its preceding causes and see how it is rooted in a false apprehension of reality. It's our conditioning. It's how we were conditioned. We're reflexively conditioned in a negative way. And as we look back and go, well, yeah, because of that, and that was this way because of further back, this thing. And we can kind of see that trajectory, how the whole thing was predicated in a false sense of reality. And that helps it to subside and fall away. So that's number 4. And number 5 is the resistance of it, or the crushing mind with mind. The most radical technique for removing these distracting thoughts is resisting the, quote, evil mind by means of the good mind. There's a passage from the Bible I would love to share with you. This is from the Sermon on the Mount where Jesus is admonishing his students. And he says, if your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. It's better for you to lose one of your members than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. That's from Matthew 5:29 through 30. And it's like truth is truth no matter what portal it comes through. This is from the Bodhisattva Jesus. The Buddha has given us this very same thing in the instruction to crush mind with mind. And this last one emphasizes the seriousness of evil actions or unskillful thought, whether those actions are of the hand or the eye or of the mind. What may now seem like a small or an insignificant thing, I didn't say it, I didn't do it, I just thought it. But thought is chief. What we continually think and ponder upon becomes who we are in the future. We are creating our future selves in this moment, in each and every moment. We're creating our future selves. This is a scary thought if we're really getting caught up in the negative. But as you start to see your progress, this is a very encouraging thought that, we're not powerless here. We are very empowered just to know you have control here. You have a choice. This is not something, thoughts will cross your mind. Your past conditioning will come up. And so we're not responsible for what comes up in our mind, what crosses our mind. Where our responsibility comes in is, did we feed it? Are we feeding it? Will we feed it? That's where the choice comes in. We're pod or pack animals. We're all in this together. There's a space in the sutras where it talks about Indra's net, where there's these jewels on the net. Each one of us is one of these jewels on Indra's net. It's an infinitely large net with many jewels in all the intersecting places. And in each jewel, these polished surfaces of the jewel, is reflected every other jewel in the net. So in my jewel, I'm reflecting you. I'm reflecting each of us here. I'm reflecting all beings. We are reflecting all beings. So this practice is not just for us. This practice is for all beings everywhere, in all the realms. We're empowered not only to change this one, but if I do it here, you're going to start reflecting it. So we can assist one another. If you try to help somebody else, I know we've all had this experience where you really see somebody's headed in the wrong direction, especially if it's a dear friend. And out of the compassion of your heart, you just really want to point to it for them and point it out to them and say, hey, do you see this? This is like really not good. Immediately, when a person feels like they're being judged, their filters go right up. Nothing you say from that point out, they're not going to hear that it's coming from love. They're going to feel judged. They're going to feel invalidated. They're going to feel put on the spot. You can't change others. You can only change yourself. You can model for others. Now that's where you have the power to affect all beings. You're a jewel and you are reflecting all the others, but what you do here reflects in all the others. So you want to bring peace to the planet? You want to see the kingdom of God on earth? This is how we do it, right here, right now, in this one. And really only in this one. But if you model it, if you do it here, what you're radiating out into the world is that beauty, that kindness, that compassion, that peace of mind. That's what you're radiating. Yeah, so remember that this is not just a small and insignificant piece. That old adage that a lot of us tended to live by before we discovered this practice, that I didn't do it, I didn't speak it, I only thought it, the only one I'm hurting is myself. All of those things, none of that's true. That's the self telling us lies and lies and lies, just like the opening song said. Watch the conditioning of mind. It's sneaking in most of the time. It's telling us lies. Don't believe it. Believe what you know to be true, what really resonates. When we hear the words of the Buddha, if we sit there and don't let the thinking mind go, yeah, but if we just calm that one, you've got an untrained puppy in your thinking mind. That's what you've got. Don't let the mind sneak in the back door as soon as you've fallen into the trap of feeding that unskillful mind. Then here comes, damn, you're not a very good practitioner. You know, here I did it again. That's that same mind in all of its cleverness coming right around and very quietly opening your back screen door. Catch him again. I see you, Mara. And he will dissolve. He will subside. So a little summary here. When you're thinking about working with the thinking mind, don't forget these 5 beautiful gifts that the Buddha gave us. Work with them. See what happens for you. The one place that I do recommend from my own personal experience, and if you have grandkids like my grandkids, then this is a place where at a certain time in their lives, grandma or grandpa is like a rock star. They want to be with you. They want to listen to you. Now they'll become teenagers and you'll get real stupid after a while. But while you're still a rock star in their world, now is the time to find the ways to share the Buddha's guidance with the little ones. I remember back when I was in grammar school, and I was a long time ago, friends, but it was before there wasn't, insurance didn't even cover dental work, much less tooth cleaning. And the dentists would come around to the schools And they'd bring these big light up this tooth that had light inside of it, and it would talk to you. And it would tell you the importance of brushing your teeth and the importance of going to your dentist and getting your teeth cleaned. And then they'd hand out these red tablets and they'd have you chew it up, and they'd give each one of us a little mirror. And they'd say, now look in your mouth and see, do you see any of the red left? And any place where there's tartar, that little red food dye was designed to stick to the tartar. And if you've got that, that means you're going to get a dark, ugly hole in your teeth. Go home, tell mom and dad, here's a pack of tablets for mom, here's one for dad. Get them to chew them up and show them. Then you can help your mom and dad where they don't have a painful tooth either. And boy, that worked, because they taught the children. They taught the young ones. If we can do that, if we have children, if we have grandchildren where we're still a rock star in their life, don't miss that opportunity, because the next generation could be the one that really starts living by these principles. They learn from each other too. They not only learn the bad habits, when they hang out with the friends that are drinking or doing drugs or something, next thing you know, your one is on that bandwagon too. Not only the negative is contagious, the positive is contagious too. They learn from their friends. And so if your ones have learned some of these useful skills of working with the thinking mind, it causes such suffering. And our children are suffering. They feel stress just like we do. They're suicidal. Some children are suicidal. They're suffering as badly or even worse than we are. At least we can kind of comprehend a little bit where it's coming from. They are confused totally. They don't know where it's coming from. They just know they're hurting. And so if we can pass these tools along to these little ones, then they're going to talk about that at the cafeteria. Grandma told me the coolest thing. You know how when you think really and you get really angry and how it makes you feel really bad inside and your throat starts to hurt, you feel like you're going to throw up? It turns out we don't even have to do that. And as they start sharing that with an element of excitement, the other kids are going to catch that enthusiasm. So there again, not only are we reflecting it through Indra's net, but we also have the ability to empower our world by teaching it to our young ones. So I invite you, if you don't have grandkids that are young enough where you're still a rock star, there's all kinds of mentoring programs out there that you could become involved with some other child, perhaps a child who doesn't have parents. There's ways for you to mentor young people where you can still pass this along if your heart is led in that direction. If it's not that direction, where is your heart led to serve? It might be just right here, right in this one only. If that's where you are led by your own inner wisdom to serve, do it there. But find that place where you can be of active use in the world, of benefit to all beings. So, the Buddha gave us these 5 steps. I invite you to play with these steps and see, how far do you have to go? Do you have to get to crushing mind with your own awareness? Or can you just replace it, that unskillful thought, with a thought of puppies? So when one is practicing true generosity, loving kindness, and compassion, the mind is free of attachments and self-identification. When the mind is free of attachments and self-identification, there's no place for it to be except in generosity, loving kindness, and compassion. It's the only place it can be. So allow your mind to practice this. Allow your thinking to be still. Allow yourself to have some peace of mind. So I would like to end this talk with a song. And on this song, I want to invite you to listen to this from your meditative state. Don't listen to this like, here's Maureen playing a guitar and singing to you like an entertainer. This is not that. This is a place to go and just feel into the lyrics of the song and let them find a home in your heart and in your memory. And when the song ends, we're going to go into just a short sitting. So here we go. We tend to believe in all, oh, excuse me, friends. We tend to believe in all that we think, imagining patterns in all that we see. We try to find meaning in everything, but what do we really know? Just look a little deeper, question your thoughts. You know that this thinking ain't all that we've got. There's a truer awareness when the thinking subsides, letting go of ourselves, closing our eyes. It's in stillness the truth abides. It's in stillness the truth abides. There's really no me, and there's really no you. These bodies are made up of bones and sinew. But open it up and you won't find you. So what do we really know? Just look a little deeper, question your thoughts. You know that this thinking ain't all that we've got. There's a truer awareness when the thinking subsides, letting go of ourselves, closing our eyes. It's in stillness the truth abides. It's in stillness the truth abides. We're just specks of stardust, all coated with life. Our wisdom's been sleeping, that's why it's a fight. Wake up to that house builder telling us lies about what we really know. Just look a little deeper, question your thoughts. You know that this thinking ain't all that we've got. There's a truer awareness when the thinking subsides, letting go of ourselves, closing our eyes. It's in stillness the truth abides. Thank you so much, dear friends, for coming in person this morning. Thank you, friends. Did we do Zoom? We did do Zoom. Yeah. Thank you for all of our friends on Zoom and all of you who have joined us on the internet. I'm so grateful that we could all be together here. And thank you to the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas that we invited in with our incense burning chant at the beginning. Thank you all for being with us, helping us integrate the Dharma to cause us, and may the incense of our practice, our transformation, our efforts, may that bring joy to all the holy beings.
Thank you, Mom.
Let's close with a dedication of merit. May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can bind in giving unity, may their minds awaken to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light break the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Thank you, friends.